En passant is a special way pawns can capture other pawns. This is one of the most confusing rules in chess. So let's have a look. The white pawn on e2 moves 2 squares to e4. So the usual way pawns capture is by moving 1 square diagonally, occupying the square of the captured pawn. So in here, the pawn on d5, the black pawn on d5, can capture the white pawn on e4 by moving to e4. There's nothing unusual about it. This is the way pawns capture. However, also note that when the pawn on e2 moved to e4, it passed the pawn on f4 without giving it an opportunity to capture the pawn. If it moved just 1 square, the pawn on f4 would have been able to capture it the usual way. But when it moved 2 squares, passing it this way, it seems to deny the opportunity for the black pawn to capture it. The en passant rule says still the black pawn can capture the white pawn by moving 1 square diagonally to the square passed by the white pawn, not to the square occupied by the white pawn. And if black does it immediately, black is allowed to capture it. Black can't delay it for another move. If black captures immediately, black is allowed to do so. This is the en passant rule. Now, what are the common confusions about this en passant rule? Let's look at the board. White's e pawn is already on e3. It moves to e4. Black is not allowed to capture en passant because the white pawn moved to e4 from e3, just 1 square, not from e2. So this is one of the main ways that beginners confuse the en passant rule. If the white pawn were on e2 and if it made way to e4 in one move, moving 2 squares, black will be able to capture en passant. But here, look carefully. The pawn was already on e3. It moved just 1 square. Black is not allowed to capture en passant. Now let's look at another situation where en passant rule can be confusing. Here white plays pawn to e4, allowing the black pawn to capture en passant. But black misses that and black moves the king to c5. White also moves the king. Black suddenly realizes that the en passant was available a move ago and black now wants to capture en passant. Let's see what happens. Black is not allowed to capture en passant now because the chance was missed. If one wants to capture en passant, it has to be done immediately after the opponent's pawn moved 2 squares. We will now look at an example of the en passant rule in a real game setting. Here, the position is absolutely even with each side having the same number of pieces. White suddenly realizes that there's a check. If white moves the b pawn from b2 to b4, it can check the black king. Black pawn on c4 captures it en passant. Now it is black's turn to check the white king. Unfortunately, the white king has no more squares to move to, and it is a checkmate. This shows the power of the en passant rule and what can go wrong if you miss this rule in real games.